Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the Accelerator with Michael Conniff. That's me. I'm your host. This podcast is a companion podcast to The Angel. We cover accelerators, incubators, founders, startups, entrepreneurs, and we also look at family offices, investment firms, VCs, venture capital, hedge funds, you name it. Today, I am particularly happy to welcome to our podcast Dr. Bernardo Perez-Villa. He is the Senior Innovations Engagement Partner at Cleveland Clinic Innovations. Welcome, Bernardo. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Michael, for having me here. It's an enormous pleasure.
So nice to have you. And you and I we didn't intersect, but we overlapped in an interesting way in Colorado. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But to give people a sense of how you work and the things you look at as at Cleveland Clinic Innovations, you recently posted on LinkedIn news of a study in Nature Medicine magazine. It was about the use of I'm going to actually rather than mess it up, I want to say exactly what you have here. Shows how deep brain stimulation, or DBS, shows promise for helping stroke patients regain control of their movements. Study is built on more than a decade of preclinical work by your team at Cleveland Clinic. And so I'm really interested about this as sort of a way to showcase what you do at the Cleveland Clinic. So how do you keep track of studies like that, of things like that, of innovation like that at the Cleveland Clinic?
Thanks for the question, Michael. And I think that you said it very fast, but it's fine. But there was a number there. You said over 10 years, or you said, I think
Yeah,
over
I was
10
just
years.
reading from, over 10 years. Yeah.
Over 10 years. And that can go through your head very fast. And that's a very important message that I would like to convey to your audience. And I'm pretty sure that they already know it. It takes time.
It
It
takes
takes a
time.
lot of time in order to go from what is in my head, what is the idea, that abstract things, to convert it, as we call, to an invention, which is something more tangible, to the innovation that you were mentioning. So it took 10 years, or even perhaps more, if you will go and talk with the real inventors of that technology. And the way that we track that at Cleveland Clinic is with my role of the engagement partner. I go and I knock the door of any caregiver, because every idea matters. That's our motto in the engagement partners. It doesn't matter if you are an admin person, if you're a nurse, if you're a technician, a physician assistant, a doctor, the chair of the institute department. We don't care. We care that you might be solving an unmet clinical need, and we know that it's going to take time to develop it. So we want to help you to that, to identify that unmet clinical need, to conceptualize that solution, but with the main goal that we can bring it to the market. Maybe we cannot take it to the market, and I will tell you, okay, let's keep doing some research. And we are very lucky at Cleveland Clinic. We have a very prestigious and a lot of funding, internal funding and external funding, to do research. But people sometimes confuse that. What is innovation is a very vast word, and what is research, and what is bringing something that is solving an unmet clinical need to market.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What is innovation at the Cleveland Clinic, and how is it different from just research? Where does the innovation come in?
That's a very difficult question to answer in half an hour. I'm kidding. No, we can do it. So I always give the same example between the difference research, invention, and innovation. And I know that is going to be controversial. Electricity. You have Einstein, Faraday, and even Benjamin Franklin, that they did a lot of research about electricity, right? They have a lot of ideas how electricity works. And then you have our friends Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison, and they helped to transform that research into an invention, and they tried to develop it to million of people. So sorry to turn the questions to you. Who do you think it was the inventor, and who do you think it was the innovator, if you want?
Oh, this is a great
Tesla or
question for me
Edison?
because my great grandfather was a contemporary of Thomas Edison and had 500 patents. So I'm going to say my great grandfather, Thomas E. Murray. But
I,
seriously,
perfect.
so when you the research, so I think what you're saying is there's research and there's data and there's science, but the
Yes,
innovator is able to bridge the gap between innovation, research, and science and the marketplace, and to bring a
correct,
product to market eventually, right?
correct. To the market. And just one final question. Sorry, one final comment regarding that is scalability. So you have return on investment that is equal to market.
Did you say
You are bringing
scalability?
scalability.
Scalability?
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Scalability. That's correct. Million of people are going to benefit from your research or technology at a cost. And yes, you are going to have a return on investment of that. So those are the two key things that we look at innovations. Is obviously we improve patient outcomes. That's patient first. That's Cleveland Clinic motto with patient first. Then return on investment and scalability. How many patients can we treat? How many patients' life can we improve by using your technology?
This direct brain stimulation is very interesting to me because my father died of strokes, had four strokes. My mother-in-law recently had multiple strokes, passed away, not from strokes, but it certainly affected her quality of life. And what the direct brain stimulation, as I understand it, could actually stimulate parts of the brain that have effectively gone to sleep or are dormant. Because when you have a stroke now, those parts of the brain, they're just kind of gone, and getting them back is extremely difficult. It can happen, but it's like not easy. So this is a new technique so that I'm interested in. So what'll happen now to this innovation? What will happen to move it from the lab or research into the marketplace?
Excellent question as well, and it will give people a sense, and that's where the time frame I was trying to the message I
Yeah.
was trying to convey on how important it is to analyze what is happening next, and it's a question that all the researchers and innovators come and ask me. And so, what is going to happen next once that they validated the idea is we have we try to find partnerships that say who wants to license this technology, who would like to buy this technology for us, or we have another avenue that is can we create a startup, can we spin off this technology and create a company. Those are the two main venues that we have to commercialize the solution at Cleveland Clinic.
So give me an example of one of each. Give me an example of technology and innovation that you decided to create a startup from at the Cleveland Clinic, within the Cleveland Clinic.
Yep. So one of the startups that I'm working closely is Mitria. Mitria is a medical device that is trying to disrupt the the mitral valve disease. That's that you have the valves in your heart and they close. So Mitra is a company that is trying to disrupt how we are treating that, because so far when you have mitral regurgitation, that meaning that your valve cannot close, your valve, instead of doing this, they do this, or they do this instead of going to the middle. And when you need surgery for that, perhaps you are a high risk patient and you cannot go to surgery. So there are two cardiothoracic surgeons at Cleveland Clinic that are working together, and they are trying to find a way that we can treat that instead of having an open heart surgery, trying to introduce a device through your leg that can solve that problem.
So that's a company that now exists within Cleveland Clinic, and it's called, what is it called?
Mitria, that is Mitria, Mitria.
Maitria. Okay, and the other example would be a company or a technology and innovation that has been licensed or sold to a third party. Can you give us an example of that as well?
So yes, we have one of them. The companies that it was licensed that we were lucky to spin off was Custom Orthopedics. That it was from Dr. Ayanori. That was a solution that was created. It was a software that was used to plan surgeries and he developed that technology, as you were mentioning before, many years. It took him research, a lot of years of research, and that was a spin-off as a to a third party company. Yes,
I
just
see.
for
And
competitiveness.
so, how do you how do you make the decision between those two? Like, why keep one in house? Why send one out of house, so to speak? What's the criteria that you look at to do that?
That's the secret sauce. We cannot tell you, Michael. That's our.
Oh, you have to tell me. You're on a
Yeah,
podcast. Like
yeah.
only 100% candor is allowed here. But
So we are a team of teams. So
yeah.
sorry to interrupt. So we are a team of teams. We don't make a decision as a single individual. We have the engagement team, the assessment team that is the one that do the intellectual property and the market assessment, the development team that does the feasibility studies, the regulatory pathway, and then we finally have the commercialization team that we have the licensing team and the spin-off company. So you put all
And
that people together, and we don't have a checklist for saying we do A, B, C, and D, and it's more a team of team discussion, and it takes time because perhaps at the very beginning you will say, well, we are going to license this, right? And the team that is working in that technology, they had an aha moment, and they say, oh, hold on, we are doing this instead of doing, for example, for neurology, we are treating this disease in stroke. Hold on, we can apply that not only to stroke but also to Alzheimer, and not only to neurology but also to cardiology. So now you have a platform. You don't have a single solution for a single problem. So instead
mm.
of licensing that, perhaps it makes more sense to do startup and to try to spin off that.
And when you do a startup, is it always with your own doctors, or are there situations where doctors from other institutions would get involved? Is it always sort of a homegrown solution, or is it a solution that starts at the Cleveland Clinic and then grows into other relationships?
It starts at Cleveland Clinic most of the time. Is something we promote the development of intellectual property in-house. However, partnership with external companies, with external doctors can happen, and we are open to that, although we know that there are some struggles, bureaucratic struggles that we need to overcome, and we are working to create an ecosystem of innovations, not only in Ohio, in Florida, but as you know, now there is a restructuring in Cleveland Clinic, and we are one Cleveland Clinic, and we are trying to create that ecosystem where we encompass caregivers from all the caregivers that we have across the globe, from London, from Abu Dhabi, from Canada, Florida, Nevada, and we are in a very lucky situation right now.
And the fact, when you're going through this process, let's take the direct brain stimulation. At what point do people outside of your hospital system, know about these things? In other words, this was a published research. So your scientists, your doctors did that very deliberately. You have to do it deliberately. You can't do it by accident. We're going to publish it. We're going to let the medical world, the scientific world, know what we have.
Mhm.
Um, and then maybe we'll make a product. We'll create a product. We'll create a company. So how does that? That could be a very hard decision. I guess my question is, do you find that third party companies interested in your innovation, technology transfer, et cetera, are they always calling you up on the phone? Are you always getting emails from them? Hey, what's going on? Any new ones? How does this work? How does the word get out?
Yes, and you have different channels. You have many, for example, I'm going to Las Vegas to a conference in 2 weeks, and there you are going to be networking with people and seeing what they are interested in and what things they are developing. And I will say that also we are developing our website for external. You can visit our external website of Cleveland Clinic Innovation, and you will see the portfolio of companies that we have there, and you will be able to subscribe to our newsletter, and to have informations about our companies and what things uh, we are developing. So it's a two, three, 10 ways pathway that it can intersect that you were mentioning. Either you can be interested in something, and yes, I received some emails of people saying, "Hey, we want to know what is happening at Cleveland Clinic," and the other way around. We have our venture capital arm and our commercialization team, the licensing that they go and see what is the market appetite for at this actual moment, because that changes.
How about your venture capital arm? What kind of investments do you have in that now?
So if you visit our website, you will see traditionally, Cleveland Clinic, we have been focusing on mainly, not mainly, but I will say 60% of our portfolio was, or 70% medical devices. But little by little, we're
Devices.
trying to
Okay.
diversify medical devices. But now you will see in that portfolio, you will see companies in therapeutics space, obviously more in the digital space, and we cannot have a podcast without saying that we are having artificial intelligence technologies that are trying to do predictive analytics in order to identify patients in a risk of having X or Y disease.
I see. Now, Bernardo, I wanted to ask you. Now, you've had quite a journey. You're in Florida now at the Cleveland Clinic, but you've had quite a journey to get there. And you and I were actually in Basalt, Colorado. Hard to believe at the same moment. I think it was around 2010. Maybe you can remind me exactly when. But I was living there, and you had just come to America, and you had a job in the local diner, essentially the Two Rivers Cafe in Basalt, Colorado, a great little spot. How did you get there? How did that happen?
Chance looking, it was it was in 2008 actually, the season of the ski season of 2008 2009. I was working at Aspen Ski Company, and there is a very big program in South America. I was born and raised in Argentina, and in Latin America we have a very big program that is work and travel, and it's a J1B visa for those that they want to come to the United States and work during the season. And it happened that the season I chose in that moment was winter, and I was lucky enough. We're talking about in 2008 that WhatsApp didn't exist, Facebook was just the beginning of Facebook, and I found a job sending an email every night to different restaurants, different cafes, and was lucky enough that one of those cafes was Two Creeks in Snowmass, and they say, "Yes, we hire you," and I went there, and I spent an amazing winter season.
Yeah. So, were you a skier or snowboarder at that point?
I didn't. Funny enough, I was living in a skiing place where it was. I was never able to go to ski, and because I was working for Aspen Skiing Company, I had my ski pass, and the guys in front of the restaurant I was working with, they were kind enough always to lend us some ski equipment. And one day there was completely snow, and I say, "I'm going to give it a try. It must not be that complicated." And so, like most of the stuff in my life, I did it learning by doing, and I was lucky enough to survive in one piece. So yes, but after that, I learned how to ski during those 4 months that I spent in Aspen. It was a very good experience to learn how
Oh,
to ski.
good for you. That's really great. But it seems like that's now you're a doctor, and you're a medical doctor, and you're at the Cleveland Clinic. It's only less than 15 years later or so. So how did you get from there to here?
It was a long, long journey, as you were mentioning. So if we take it from the moment I came back from the US in 2008, I finished med school, and I went to Spain, did my residency in cardiology. It's a 5 years residency program. Then I did 3 more years of heart failure. And then I realized that it wasn't my thing. I was more interested in other things. And I did a master in healthcare economics. And at that moment, I came back to the US with my girlfriend at the time, and I joined the Society of Physician Entrepreneurs and net in Denver,
Right.
Colorado. And I started networking with Arlen Mayers. He was kind enough to introduce me
Yes.
to people.
Who we both know. Yeah. Yeah. Does a great
Exactly.
job. Yeah.
So Arlen is a connector, and he connected me with with the CEO of a startup at that moment that is Wellian, and I started working with them as a medical advisor, then the chief scientific officer, and that opened the door to came to the US with the startup. And a friend of mine was working at Cleveland Clinic as a research as a cardiologist, and he hired me to be part of the research department. That's fast forward in 2020. So I ended up Cleveland Clinic, Florida, working as a research associate. And 1 year later, I did a fellowship in innovation with Cleveland Clinic that opened me the opportunity to work with the innovations department. So I went from clinical to research, entrepreneur, and now intrapreneur or innovation, if you want.
Yeah, when you were at that startup, what does that company do? Wellian, is it? What did that company
Well,
do?
yeah, that's correct. We use at that moment voice assisted speaking, that is Alexa device mainly, to collect clinical history automatically. Because as a cardiologist, I found the problem that I spent, and nowadays we still spend 80 or 90% of our time doing clinical documentation. And for me, it's unthinkable that we still need to spend that much time editing a Word file or Epic or,
Well, it's really what we
yes,
call
we
paperwork. It's paperwork, right?
paperwork. That's correct, yes.
Yeah.
And imagine if we can delete that or reduce it to a minimum necessary, that instead of spending 80 or 90% of your time doing that, you spend time with your patients, you spend time thinking, spend time updating your skills as a physician.
Do entrepreneurs, founders, startups, do they bring innovations to you? Do you ever take ideas from outside and implement them?
We're trying to, we know that it's complicated. We are trying to streamline that process, and we would like to, as I was mentioning at the beginning, trying to create an ecosystem where we can provide not only the development of intellectual property from inside, but also what they call open innovation. If you want, some people might call it open innovation, where you're benefiting from the perspective of other people from outside. However, the problem is also that I found is some people, they believe that this is a partnership, and sometimes what you hear is a sales pitch. And I'm fine with that. If you want to sell something to Cleveland Clinic, that's fine. But we are not perhaps the best target for that. We want to work with you and see if we can develop intellectual property together.
Uh-huh. So you do accept those kind of overtures and those kind of get in those kind of conversations. And how does this what about technology transfer? Does technology transfer come into this? Do you do anything um, to try to get the technology, the inventions, the innovations into different markets around the world, or is it more like the markets come to you?
We are trying to do it. We are focusing on mainly on the U.S. at this moment, and as I was mentioning, we are lucky enough to have institutions across the globe, and it will be great if we can implement that. Yes, it will be. It will be a dream come true if we can finally see how we can take our great technology that we are developing at Cleveland Clinic across the globe.
Oh, that's exciting. So, what do you see, Bernardo, in the future? We've got a few minutes left here. Um, there's obviously incredible firepower. By that, I mean just intellectual smarts, great people at the Cleveland Clinic. Medicine, my impression of medicine, not an expert on it, but I do see a lot of companies and I do see a lot of innovation. And it seems like there's just a plethora, a wellspring of innovation everywhere in the health realm, right? What do you see happening in that area of healthcare innovation, medical innovation over the next 5 to 10 years? What should we be looking for?
Well, and one of the first thoughts is that if the human being is very good at it, sorry, we are very bad at it, is predicting the future. We don't know what is going to happen. We're very bad
Right.
doing that. That being said, what I more than what I expect, or what I predict, is what I would like to see. I would like to see more open innovation. I would like to see more freedom to operate, in the sense of, if Michael has an idea, Bernardo has an idea, and you work at whatever, and I work at X company, we should have a easier way to collaborate to improve patient outcomes. If we are improving patient outcomes, that should be straightforward. By straightforward, I mean, yes, we need, obviously, first, do not harm. That's the first thing in medicine. Second of all, you need to benefit, and I need to benefit, and patients need to benefit. So win-win-win-win situations. And that's it's something that I would like to see, and more with access. I think that we're in an era that access to information, access to technology, access to get in contact right now. You are in one place, I'm in another, and maybe in 2 weeks we will be different places, but we can connect. I envision that, or I would like to see more access and easier ways to connect with technology, not only in the US, but from outside the US as well.
Why is it so hard to collaborate, to work together in this area?
We are selfish individuals. That's we're
Right.
we want to. No, I'm just kidding. I I have to think. I think that there
I
is not a
mean,
single reason why it's so difficult.
I
What do
would
you
say,
think?
people are selfish. People do want credit. Um, People are, less likely to share the invention or the innovation, um, or to give up control of it. I guess is that the problem? Is there kind of a selfishness about that in the medical realm?
I will need to think a lot about what is the main reason. If I have to tell you what I not suffer, but I see every day, is bureaucracy. We need to a lot of red tape to overcome. Yes, that red tape is completely necessary. Once again, we need to be doing something that is safe, that is improving patient outcomes all the time. That's our main message. We cannot mess up with that. And at the same time, we need to learn. For example, I always see with very good eyes how we can fly from one place to another very safely. We go to the airport. We most of the time get there in on time, or we are a little bit delayed, but we know that we are going to get to the other place, and that's a very well oiled machine that healthcare can learn a lot from that.
Yeah, that's not how it works in medicine typically. But no,
Unfortunately, it is not.
I mean, it's been, since I was young, since I was a kid, I remember doctors back then complaining about bureaucracy and paperwork and red tape, and perhaps looking forward to, computerization as a way to make things better. But, it's really maddening. It doesn't seem to really have changed that much. How many times have you been asked to, not just in a medical context, but asked to repeat your name and your social security number and your phone number and, where you live and all of that? It's kind of crazy. Um, well, I want to remind our listeners, this is the Accelerator podcast with Michael Conniff. We are on all the major platforms: Audible, Adobe, Apple, many, many others, also on Spotify and YouTube for audio and video. And we have done close to, if not more than 100 already, of the Accelerator and the Angel podcast. And we want to remind you to rate us, rank us, subscribe to us, share us, and we'd be grateful for all of that. And we want to thank our new friend, Bernardo Perez-Villa. He is the Senior Innovations Engagement Partner at Cleveland Clinic Innovations. And Bernardo, it's a real pleasure to talk to a fellow former Basaltine, as people from Basalt, Colorado are called, and somebody who made some turns on the slopes of Colorado. So thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Michael. And anytime that you need anything from me, please, you know that I'm here. Thank you so much.
Appreciate that. And thank you, all of you, for listening. And remember, we'll be back with another podcast before you know it.